Hello, hello. We are Jimmy and Steph with Capture and Frames, and today we're going to travel back in time. So one of the most common questions we get is, like what's the backstory of Capture and Frames? How did we get started? What did it look like back then? So we're going to dive into that today. It might be kind of long, so buckle up, grab a cup of coffee, and we have to put like a commercial in there for a bathroom break. Our sponsors.
That would be the best commercial ever, bathroom break commercials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why don't we tell our viewers how you got into this?
Like as a child, or how Capture and Frames got started?
Let's talk about how you became a filmmaker.
Well, I'm not formally educated as a filmmaker. When I was growing up, I always had, and it's so cliche to say this, but I always had a camera in my hand. My brother and sister are both like a decade older than me. So whenever I was in middle school, we go on family vacations, and sometimes they wouldn't go because they're in their 20s or at college, whatever. Mm-hmm. My mom started renting video cameras to take on vacation, and I think now it was more just to like give me something to do, and it worked. I did. I made these music video montages of everything we did and everything we saw, and I started getting pretty good at it, showing it to teachers and friends at school, and everybody thought it was really cool, right? So that's kind of like the sort of inception of my knowledge of a camera. Mm-hmm. It's very on the ground, sort of trial and error. This works, this doesn't. I mean, I was my own critic, and I either liked what I saw on my screen or I didn't, and kind of learned from there.
Let's talk about your first wedding. How did you get into the wedding industry?
So, my mom, weirdly enough, when I think about it, she's always kind of had this entrepreneurial mindset. She ran her own daycare for 10, 15 years, but she always kind of like, I think after the daycare thing, she always wanted to try something else out. Okay. One idea that she had was that she liked the idea of doing table settings at weddings. Mm-hmm.
Like centerpieces and
right, like
glassware,
and that kind of thing.
Like table settings weren't your thing in high school?
They weren't exactly something I was into in high school. This was starting kind of when Facebook was starting to become a thing in 2008. Mm-hmm. So I had an account, and one of my teachers was on there, Mr. Wilgus. And so I saw that my teacher was filming weddings on the side, and I went to his website and I saw how much he charged. It's not just uncles filming weddings, this is like a career or something to do. So Capture and Frames started as me and my mom.
So what was her reaction whenever you came to her with like, hey, I think I know how we can be involved in weddings?
Well, I remember like immediately, when I saw my teacher's work, like bringing her into into my bedroom with the computer and being like, Mom, look at this. And I was like, we can do this. She was really excited and was like, awesome, we got to go talk to Dad. And we had to go talk to Dad because we had to say, hey, Dad, we need $1,200. So yeah, we had to, now we had the equipment, we kind of had this idea, and we had to get some work, which is the hardest part. Yeah, to this day, it's the hardest part. It all kind of fell into place. So I was a senior in high school. Me and Mom had, bought this equipment, and my mentor in high school, Mr. Brindle, was my electronics teacher. He knew that me and my mom were starting this thing. He'd seen the vacation videos, that I'd bring to class, and he was like, hey, I'm getting married next June. Why don't you film my wedding? And so we were like, absolutely, 100%.
So how'd it go?
How
was your first wedding?
Oh my gosh. Everything that I needed to happen at that wedding happened. First and foremost, June Hallowell was the photographer.
Oh, June.
Yes, June is my wedding mom. We have a thing in our industry. The first photographer that you worked with is your wedding mom, and they take you under their wing and show you the ropes. And she knew that it was me and my mom's first wedding, and she was so helpful. okay, here's what's going to happen next. Here's the invitation. I hung the dress up over here. I mean, just totally like held our hands and were cheerleaders that day. Because obviously I was super nervous. I'm 18 years old. I'm an 18-year-old boy.
It's not like you go to weddings every weekend.
Right. I don't know what brides expect. I don't know what to say or not to say or the traditions. And so I had my mom to sort of guide me through what weddings are and how brides think and what families expect. But June was really there to show us, keep us up to speed on what's happening next, right?
Right.
I mean, me and you both know that like one of the hardest things about a wedding day or filming a wedding is staying, filming a moment, but also being 5 minutes ahead of the timeline of what's happening next, being in place before something happens. So that year, 2009, we ended up with 2 more weddings. I think one of them was like a family wedding. And I think at the time, like, we didn't have pricing. We didn't really have a brochure or anything. We were basically working for tips, so to speak. But that was fine. We didn't know how to price ourselves or what to expect. We didn't even know if it was going to work. So like immediately after filming Andy and Katie's wedding, Mr. Brindle, my teacher, all of a sudden I started getting emails and phone calls. I mean, me and my mom were both in shock, first of all. Because, we filmed those first couple of weddings and we were kind of like, okay, that was fun, Like we never expected anything to happen. We were just kind of like,
did you even have a name for the business at that time, or were you just sort of winging it?
We had a name and we had business cards. It's like the first
you did make business cards, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
Whoa, jumping in hot.
Right. I still
Guess
carry.
you have to.
I now carry our first business card with me all the time as a reminder of
where you came from.
Where I came from.
It's cool.
2010, I think we did 10 or 12 weddings.
So it really took off.
Yeah, I mean, we went 3 to 10 pretty quick, and we were still. I mean, we were dirt cheap, so it was pretty easy for people to say yes. I remember I bought my first like good camera, I think in like the fall of 2010. Basically, our first 10 weddings we filmed with something you would film like your kid's baseball game with, like those little Sony Handycam.
So when you're getting started, gear does not matter.
Gear doesn't matter. Yeah. As we moved into 2011. So, we're 2 years in now, we're moving into our 3rd season. This is the year that Steph came along and that my mother transitioned out, right? We always joke that I fired her. I did not fire my mother. I think she was just kind of ready to maybe not do, 12 hours in July at a wedding.
Right.
She was totally ready to help me with, anything else that I needed, but was ready to get out of that. Me and you met in the spring of 2011.
Yeah.
So what were you doing at the time?
So at the time in 2011, I was doing photography. For me, it was sort of a side gig. One of those things that everyone said I was good at all through high school. I'd grown up with a camera in my hands, much like you. So I just figured, why not see if I could make a little money at it while I'm going to school.
So me and you had met and we had this camera, photo, video thing in common, creative. I had seen your work and liked it. You had seen some of my wedding films and liked those. And so we really kind of hit it off. So coming up in July of 2011, I needed help with a wedding. And so I called you. And you were, I don't know if you were excited or nervous, but I think you said yes right away.
Oh, I said yes right away. I wasn't doing weddings at the time. I had only really done family portraits, seniors, close friends, stuff like that. And a wedding was a whole different animal. I was ready. I was so excited.
That was Amy and Brandon.
That was Amy and Brandon, yeah.
Amy and Brandon.
Yep.
And funny enough, actually, my first wedding was at St. Boniface in Edwardsville.
Yeah.
And your first wedding was at St. Boniface in Edwardsville. We've done hundreds of weddings and we've only been there 3 or 4 times. So it's weird how that lined up that like our first wedding was at the same place.
I'm with you in the morning. I didn't really film a whole lot of the morning stuff. I was kind of just observing. But during the ceremony, you were like, okay, here's a camera, go stand at the front of the church and film the processional. Right. And I'm like, okay.
I didn't realize that at the time, but putting an introvert in front of 300 people with a camera in their hand might have been a little jarring. What was so different about shooting video compared to photo?
I had to get used to camera movement. That's kind of, I mean, that's that's all video is. I mean, moving the camera in a certain way to make you feel a certain thing or to make it look a certain way.
You know, people can get turned off whenever a camera is pointing at them. And so like there's a lot of psychology into making people feel comfortable.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is something kind of different. So the difference between photo and video for us, we don't like when people look at us. So we want to just sort of remain this fly on the wall. And that was kind of tricky to get used to, to not be too distracting or pull people's attention away, just to get the natural moment as it's happening.
You guys know that whenever you go to take a picture of somebody and they look at you and they say cheese.
Right.
But as soon as, if you point a video camera at somebody, they're like,
what do I do?
Clam up. So like,
just smile and say cheese.
Right. Learning how to talk to people and then record.
Right.
And just make them forget that there's a video camera on them.
I pretty much just immersed myself in all of it. Like, I loved every second of it. I'm a very creative person. I don't know, I loved seeing this thing that came from nothing. Like, we would just show up and film all of this stuff, and then it would come to fruition. It would like exist in this plane of, you could watch it on your TV.
Right, yeah, that whole idea of,
Creating something from
you show
nothing.
up with empty hard drives and empty cards,
Right.
and you come home with just smiles and hugs and grandparents
Right.
and laughter.
And all of these memories just to document and have forever.
Right.
It's really cool.
Tell us about the first music video that you made. It wasn't a wedding.
It was not a wedding. No, the first music video I made was us. I made you a video for your birthday. And we had just done this road trip out west, and I thought it would be the coolest thing to put together a music video for Jimmy to watch on his birthday on another trip out west. Like, we did this sort of back-to-back thing. It was crazy. We were young. And I figured out how to edit to music. I mean, I'd watched him do it a bunch, and I'd sat down side by side with him as he explained, you know, the shortcuts on the keyboard or what you were supposed to do.
Editing to the beat and
Right. 'Cause
finding
I'd already
the
been
emotion
doing,
in the
yeah,
song. And
documentary edits at this point, but I never made a music video. So I sat down to create this thing, and
totally surprised me.
yeah, I know, I think you cried.
I did cry. Yeah. So that was in 2012, which I think another big thing that happened in 2012 was we got our first Chicago wedding, Lindsay and Joseph. And there were a lot of really cool things about that wedding.
Yes.
First and foremost, it was in Chicago.
Being from smaller towns in southern Illinois, it was a big deal.
Right.
It was a big deal to branch out and head up there.
That's where we met Sarah and Ryan Miller, who would end up being our photographers at our wedding.
And really good friends of ours.
Great friends, awesome. So yeah, Sarah and Ryan were awesome. And before the wedding, we had looked up their work, and I mean, it's fantastic. It's incredible work. And we were pretty intimidated. You remember that?
Yeah, we were nervous.
And then we get to the wedding, and they're totally awesome. So we come back from Chicago, and everything went great. They loved the same day edit. 2013, 2014, we're getting more bookings.
A lot more bookings.
Things are looking really good for caption frames. And by this point, we had decided that it was our career.
Right.
And we were kind of ready for like, okay, what's next? And we had a couple of weddings that really helped us sort of define what we wanted everything to look like for us, define our style, and define what was the most important aspects of filmmaking and of documenting weddings.
Right. That's whenever we really kind of harnessed this documentary style of filmmaking. Instead of creating or changing moments, we just wanted to document them.
We'd film one wedding, and I don't know if we just kind of built it up in our heads, but it just didn't come out as naturally or as organically as we hoped it would.
Right.
And we discovered that, frankly, we were forcing a lot of things. And we had a wedding in western Missouri, Molly and Andy. And I think basically what happened, first of all, it was a gorgeous outdoor ceremony, beautiful reception. just on their parents' front yard, no tent. I mean, just under the trees, kind of a wedding. Super cool.
Right. We really eased off of the photo hour and filmed a lot more of the scene setting stuff to try and put you in the place, understand that you're out here on this gorgeous piece of property.
And it was cool because, like, you know, friends and family, they were playing bags and washers and, you know, in the front yard during cocktail hour. It was just a totally different feel from what we were used to with weddings. You know, people come together for a bride and groom, but it's really a celebration. And that includes your friends' faces, you know, mom and dad, and all these other people that come together. And so that became a new sort of important item on our Saturday checklist as far as what we get and what we don't get.
I got the idea for a feature film.
Right.
Because there were so many cool moments that
Couldn't.
we couldn't fit it into a smaller music video. So I said, what if we started offering a longer one? We might as well. We'd recently seen the Coco Rocca wedding.
Right.
And I liked how it was, I think it was like 5 or 7 minutes, I don't know, something like that. And I thought this could be a good opportunity to try it out. It's our filmmaking that day was very documentary. I thought, let's see what happens when you use multiple songs.
Right. And that's when we started, like, really using toast audio and message from your officiant.
Right.
And just really kind of grasping that fly on the wall mentality of stay ahead of the moment and don't force anything.
Right.
Don't stop anything. Let the moment breathe. All that kind of stuff. So we really kind of found our style and stuck with it. And in a lot of ways, it's shifted here and there, but that's the foundation of all that is still, like, that's our approach, and it's what we walk into the day with the intention of.
You do you. I say it every morning.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride. That's kind of like the first 5 years of what's happened. We've been doing it for 10 years now.
So crazy.
But yeah, from starting a little wedding video business with my mom to Steph coming along and bringing all of the good ideas. And then together discovering our style and what made us happy and what couples responded to. I know there was a lot in there, and there's a lot within that we can unpackage even further. If there was anything you want to hear more about, just let us know and we'll do something with it. Cool. All right. Until next time, enjoy.
Take care.